Hello, everyone, and welcome to your webinar replay for our newest and I think one of our most exciting programs for 2025. This is Oman from deserts to fjord, a remarkable country in the Middle East that has so much history to tell and so much, frankly, about what life is in the Middle East is all about. This replay actually is not a live replay, not a replay, I should say, of our live webinar. We had some connection difficulties, so the audio did not work out so well. So this is actually a true replay, a recording of what we talked about during the webinar, so you get a sense of what this program is all about. So on that note, I am going to skip over our usual introduction of Wheel and Anchor. So if you are looking at one of our webinars for the first time, I invite you to join us for another webinar, and I'll go through the usual introduction about who we are as a community at Wheel and Anchor and what we're all about. So I'm just going to jump forward on that and head right into our agenda for today's webinar, which is talking to you a little bit about this country of Oman that, frankly, we know so little about in Canada. And that's a good thing because, of course, there's so much strife in the Middle East. I mean, you can't open the newspaper up, particularly these days, and hear all about it. And here's a country that has been politically stable and safe to visit for decades and decades. In fact, one of the things that inspired me about this country and this amazing place as a destination, well, there was a number of things. I spent a short stint living in Dubai and nearby United Arab Emirates in the UAE. I never actually made it to Oman during that time, but I heard so much about it because so many people there, expats and locals that reside there, will head to Oman as sort of as a getaway. But more importantly, my travel mentor, which is actually a cousin of mine who lives in Vienna, Austria, and who has traveled to all kinds of parts in the world that I still froth at the mouth. And a lot of people, look at me as somebody who's traveled the world and brings those experiences, and yet I have my travel mentor. And this cousin of mine started going to Oman 35 years ago, and in fact was commissioned by the then Sultan of Oman, who I'll talk a little bit about, to write a book and do a photographic book about Oman, which he published some 25 years ago. And again, he is sort of my authority on this country, who that he still goes back and visits, having been there already dozens of times, and said what a remarkable place it is, one of his favorite countries anywhere. And that to me sort of speaks volumes because, again, we don't often consider this as a destination. Let's jump right in. First of all, the geographic overview of this program, which begins in the capital of Muscat, which is up here. And Oman, of course, if you're not familiar, I'll just give you the general geographic overview, which is here. Oman sits at the southeastern corner of the Arabian Peninsula, which is largely occupied by Saudi Arabia. You have the Emirates, the UAE, which is a series of emirates that are sort of in this northern coast of the Arabian Peninsula. And down here in the southwest, you have the country of Yemen, which you probably will have heard more of because, of course, it's in the news all the time, given the civil war that has been going on there for several years now. And so while there are definitely lots of problems, civil war, we hear about the Houthis and the activities that they're doing in the Gulf of Aden around here and so on. None of that actually affects Oman, even though Yemen is here on the southwestern border of the country. It is unaffected. And if you were to look up a travel advisory, the Canadian government travel advisory about Oman, you'd see that the country has the same warning as, frankly, most countries in the world, which is to exercise a high degree of caution. And it only suggests that one not travel to the very border region with Yemen, which of course we don't do. The closest we would come on this program is Salalah down here in the southwest, which is a very popular beach resort for Europeans and people from all over the region. And again, is not affected. And it's an important point I want to emphasize because, of course, we treat safety, again, particularly in the current political climate, with the highest priority, and I wouldn't even consider a trip to this region, to this country, if it were not for the fact that it's frankly not an issue. So, as I say, going back to the geographic overview, we begin in Muscat, the capital, which is up here on the sort of the northern coast of Oman. We'll spend a few days exploring this remarkable city, which is a lesson in history unto itself. We'll then travel all the way down the coast to Sur, which is it's more than a village. It's certainly now a larger town, but it has its origins in obviously the fishing trade, and we'll visit, in fact, Kuriat along the way, down to Sur, where we'll spend a couple of nights and see where they build the dhows. We'll then head up for one of the many highlights of this trip, up to the Wahiba Sands in the middle of the Al Wahiba Desert. Most of Oman is this giant desert that you see here, it's no man's land, and we'll get a good taste for that by staying out in a desert camp, which is a remarkable experience. And if you've done it once, you'll do it again, because there's just nothing like the experience of being in the desert. We'll then head up to Nizwa, which is here in the mountains. So again, a different landscape altogether. We'll see some remarkable old fortresses and get a real insight into more of this rural culture of Oman. Then we'll head back to Muscat, catch a flight to go down here for the last leg of the main trip, which is in Salalah. We'll spend a few days here down in the southwestern part of the country before flying out and either back home or onto our extension program, which covers another unique part of Oman, which is this area right up here at the northern tip. It's actually separated from the rest of the country by the UAE. So this little chunk of land up here is part of Oman, the so-called Arabian Peninsula, and the principal city of Kasab. And so our extension program will take us into Dubai for a night and then up to for a few days here to visit this incredible scenery, the fjords, the mountains, very dramatic. And so a wonderful little add-on for those looking to spend a few extra days. So that's the overview of our program, and I'm going to take you through. There's a little zoom in again, where you can get a sense of the geography up here. There's some islands that we're going to visit. We're going to go 4x4ing into the mountains, not like super rough 4x4ing, but nevertheless to give you a flavor of this area of the Arabian Peninsula. So, as I say, let's jump into the main part of the program. And as I say, we'll begin arriving into Muscat. Muscat is quite accessible city, being obviously the principal city in Oman. You can either fly there. Perhaps the most common way out of Canada would be taking Emirates, which of course flies regularly from Toronto to Dubai and then catching a connecting flight. But quite honestly, there are flights via Istanbul on Turkish Airlines, one of my favorites, as well as through other gateways in Europe. So it's quite easy to get in and out of Muscat. And once we'll arrive there, we'll have, as usual, a day at leisure to just sort of settle in. And it's a very safe city, like the whole country. So you can immediately land, walk around. We're staying in an area just outside the downtown, because the only thing I would say about Muscat is that while it has an older part of the town, it's interspersed with sort of a very modern part of the city. So there really aren't any, how should we say, pleasant accommodations, or ones that I would say meet the wheel and anchor standard that are in the old part of the town in Muscat. So we stay at a wonderful hotel, the Intercontinental, a brand that we all know and it's a mark of quality, but it's a little bit outside of the downtown part, because most of the time we're going to be brought in and out to the various places that we're going to visit over the few days that we're in Muscat. We're going to start off exploring the city on foot, and as I say, we're going to go into town, and we're going to get our hands dirty, so to speak, seeing such thing as the Royal Opera House, some of these grand structures, both ancient and modern, that Muscat is famous for. Among them, the Sultan Qaboos Grand Mosque. And Sultan Qaboos was the longest ruler of Oman, who ruled for over 50 years, and he just passed away a few years back. He was revered. He was a benevolent dictator, if you will, but I emphasize benevolent. I mean, he did so much for the country, and is largely the reason why it has remained free of most of the conflict that exists through so much of the Middle East. So we'll hear lots more about that, and you'll hear his name mentioned all the time. We'll also have a chance here to get right into, local culture and language with a calligraphy class. Obviously, the language in Oman being Arabic, like the rest of the Arab world. And quite honestly, this is fascinating because it's writing Arabic is like art. Well, it is art as far as I'm concerned, but it's also an insight into what Omani heritage is all about. And on the same day, on our first full day there, we'll also get our first glimpse, our first taste of Omani cuisine at our welcome dinner, which is going to give you already an insight into this vast array of flavors, many of which will be completely new to you unless you've already sort of had experience in traveling through some of the Arab world. We are going to spend our second full day in Muscat touring again the Sultan's Palace, which is really a testament to the history of the country and the the architectural masterpieces that they've created. This is the ceremonial home of the current Sultan of Oman, who is the gentleman who took over from bin Qaboos, who, as I mentioned, passed away before. And so by seeing this, obviously we can't go inside, but we will get to at least understand a lot more about Omani culture, Omani history, and the power structures that are here. Because again, it's because of their unique political system that has contributed to their place of stability again in the Middle East. Another exciting thing that I think we're going to do here is we're going to visit a local women's club. And this is also something that I think is a testament to this country in comparison or in contrast to other countries in the Middle East, because women here play a far greater role in society than, as we know, in a lot of parts of the Middle East. They are for lack of a better word, second-class citizens. I have to be careful what I say, of course, but I think we're all well aware of how women are treated in some of these countries. And so Oman is really very different than that, very liberal as far as women's rights are concerned. And they're encouraged to be entrepreneurs and to be within reason, more expressed and more a part of society than, as I say, would be the case in other parts of the Middle East. We then on our last full day in Muscat, we'll spend the day, or not the whole day, but we'll spend a good chunk of it at the Sultan Qaboos Mosque, which you can see here. It is truly incredible. And it was built again as a tribute to Sultan Qaboos, and is a masterpiece. And if you regardless of your religious following, I think personally I have the philosophy that it's important to delve into other faiths and other traditions, because it's this broadening our understanding of it all that contributes to a greater connectedness around the world, which is quite honestly what we need a lot in this day and age. We'll spend part of the day as well looking at the Palmyra Botanic Garden. What's neat, obviously, in a country that is mostly desert, is to see some of the flora that cover this beautiful country, concentrated here in this botanical garden, because you'd be surprised if we're really lucky. And I'm gonna say this because this is not what you would usually say about a trip, but if we're really lucky and it should rain at any point during the trip — they don't get much rain in Oman, as you can well imagine — then it is incredible to see the desert transform as life sort of emerges from this vast wasteland. And but the Botanic Garden will give us a little bit of an insight into what that's all about, and again, what flora actually exists in this country. The following day, then, we're going to now make our journey down from Muscat to Sur, which itself is really known for its maritime history, and we're going to spend the next day delving into that a little bit. We're going to stop along the way at Pripyat, which is a lovely little village, which in and of itself is one of the reminders of the Portuguese invasion that was a big part of the country's history. And it's still, largely a home for local fishermen. And so that day, it's not a long drive. It's about 2.5 hours. We'll arrive into Sur. We'll have some time to explore a little bit on our own. We're going to be staying right on the beach. And quite honestly, the water there is, again, we wouldn't think of it because we don't relate to these kind of places as beach destinations. But quite honestly, people travel from Europe on a beach holiday to Oman. And so you'll see why when we get there, because of the amazing colors of the water and that you'll see. The next day, while we're in Sur, two highlights of the day are going to be visiting a dhow building yard, where we'll see this ancient art of building the dhows. These are the ships, the sailing ships. When I mentioned the word, we didn't put a picture in here, but you'll know what I mean. The ancient sailing craft, and we'll see how these were built in the past and are still built today. And we'll have some time again to relax and enjoy the beach, which is always pleasant in a country where you're mostly surrounded by sand and desert. And we'll have a wonderful dinner, and then in the early evening, we'll head out to another very special place that this is so well known for, which is the Ras Al Khaimah's Turtle Reserve. And here we can see actually the nesting of the endangered green turtles on the beach. Obviously, they only come in at night. The area is protected. It's not like we can go and wander, but we can actually watch the turtles come in, dig the hole, lay their eggs, bury them, and head back out to sea. This in and of itself is a very remarkable experience, and undoubtedly, one of the amazing moments of our trip. We then make our way inland up to Al Wahiba Sands, which is the desert camp. Again, this is the sort of northeastern edge of the desert, and we'll visit here and get a sense of what this vast desert is all about. I'm going to switch slides here because it's not just like you imagine the Sahara to be. Dunes and deserts. Obviously, there's mountains. There's incredible formations here. It's an incredible spot. We'll stop at an oasis called Wadi Bani Khalid that you see pictured here, where you'll have a chance to swim. And I know sometimes people are hesitant because you think, oh my God, like can this water be clean, and so on and so forth. It is amazing. It is an amazing experience, and I really, if I'm hosting the tour, or whoever's going to be hosting this trip that's not determined yet, will be encouraging you to go and try swimming in an oasis, because it'll be one of the things that you seldom get the opportunity to do in your life. And we'll venture further into the desert, and we'll get to see, hopefully, some of the desert wildlife, the oryx, which is, of course, the iconic animal. Looks like a big giant deer, but with the long pointy horns on it, as well as gazelles and foxes, and there's a whole bunch of wildlife that lives in this very vast and harsh climate. It's quite remarkable. And then we'll end up in the evening at our desert camp, which is a remarkable spot to stay for a couple of nights. And you live like the nomads, like the desert nomads did for so many years. Of course, in more comfortable accommodations than that. We're well looked after, but the quietness, the clear sky, particularly at night with the stars, is a incredible experience. The following day, we're going to make a side trip to Ibra, which has an incredible souk. Souk, if you're not familiar with the term, is an Arabic market. And on Wednesday, which I believe is the day that we're going to be visiting here, there is a women's market, which is particularly interesting because, again, as I mentioned before, women here have a prominent role in society and are encouraged to be entrepreneurs and to have their businesses and create crafts and various other things. And I think this is remarkable. And I love to visit all of the women-led endeavors, not only in Oman but frankly anywhere. Um, so after we explore that, we're going to head into some of the villages of the Wadi Nam. We're gonna visit a sheikh who is going to sort of tell us a little bit about the life in the desert and extend their local hospitality. And on this day, you'll also have the opportunity for those that wish to go on a hot air balloon ride over the desert, which again, I would highly, highly recommend. Quite honestly, we are offering this for those who book this adventure soon before our early bird deadline. We are throwing in the hot air balloon adventure. And so if you haven't done hot air ballooning in a dramatic landscape before, and if you don't have a fear of heights, then I would strongly recommend participating in this rather incredible opportunity. We then leave the Wahiba Desert and head, as I mentioned, up into the mountains. And our destination will be Nizwa, which at one time was the capital of Oman, and again has a very, very rich history that combines some traditional Islamic architecture here. This is a great photo because it's a juxtaposition between the old and the new, the mosque that you can see in the background here. This whole area, this whole town dates back to the 17th century. So we'll have a chance to explore a little bit of the history of the area, visit the souk of Nizwa as well, which is also a very bustling place. I love souks. I mean, everybody loves a market, or I should say most people love markets anywhere in the world, but souks for me are the taste, the sounds, the smells, the experience of being there and watching this way of life is really incredible. In the evening, we will do a shuwa, which is the title that's shown here on this slide. Shuwa actually means it's a special meal that is prepared where they season meat with very fresh spices, and they actually cook it underground for a whole day. And so we will participate in a traditional shuwa feast, sitting on the floor on carpets as you do, and again tasting in this very rugged part of the country the incredible feast of Oman. So a memorable day. So while we're in Nizwa, we're going to be looking around the area and heading up to Jebel Akhdar, the so-called Green Mountain, which has again, the landscapes here that my pictures don't even do it justice, but are truly, truly amazing because you see these villages perched up in this very stark mountainous desert landscapes. And up here, they are known for their terraced agriculture. And you get a sense of it from the photograph that you see here, but there's so much to see because they actually are growing all kinds of fruits and vegetables and pomegranates and peaches and flowers, roses, and all the rest of it. So I say the picture doesn't really do it justice, but it's we'll take a little hike and we'll visit 3 villages where we will get a chance to really immerse ourselves in this incredible surroundings. And in the evening, we'll head back, or late afternoon, excuse me, I should say, we'll head back to Nizwa and visit Birkat Al Maus, which is a UNESCO site that showcases the traditional irrigation system, which they call an aflaj. And this is how they brought water to agricultural areas, to houses, and is really a big part of their heritage, because without a system of managing water in this very dry and arid landscape, it wouldn't be possible. So this is a big part of their culture and their history. Another day we have here in Nizwa, where we'll be visiting another UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are many in Oman. There's not that many, but I think we're visiting most of them. And this will be Jibreen Castle, which is actually a 15th century fort that is again a testament to the architecture of the Arabic world at that time. It's quite amazing. We'll have yet another market, and we'll also have a chance to visit the Bala Fort, which is an oasis town that dates back to the 13th century in actual fact. So some amazing sights that there is here to say. And again, my pictures hardly even do it justice. This is one of many amazing sights that we'll see here. So we then make our way back to Muscat, and then we'll fly down to Salalah, which is in the, as I mentioned, the very southern, the southwesternmost part of the country. And here, once again, we'll be staying near the beach. And there's at a lovely resort which has spa facilities, and it's a wonderful place to sort of hang out, relax. And again, many people go there just for a holiday by the beach. But we're here to really learn a little bit more about this capital of the so-called Dhofar region of Oman. So on this day, on the first day, we're going to really have time to just a travel day. It's always nice to relax a little bit, enjoy the surroundings. I mean, see this incredible landscapes before we then on the following day head off to visit another wadi, to the Wadi Darbat, where we'll see some waterfalls. Again, we're going to see some of these oasis type landscapes in the vastness of the desert. We're going to visit a 3,000-year-old archaeological site called Sumhuram, which is a key site that was at the center of the trade of frankincense. And again, frankincense here, here thing we think about frankincense in the context of, the three kings and Jesus and one of the gifts that was brought and so on and so forth. But this was one of the main points where they were trading it between Asia and the Middle East and the Mediterranean regions. So we can also actually have a chance on this day to buy some real frankincense, which again, it's not something you find everywhere. I actually quite like the bouquet of frankincense. I think it's quite unique and different. And then we'll have a final dinner this evening in Salalah for those that are not continuing on to taste some more of Omani cuisine. And reflect on all of these incredible things that we've seen. And we've got one last day to enjoy the beautiful scenery and the beach at Salalah, for those that are interested in doing something that's not for everybody, but we have the opportunity to do a 4x excursion into the desert, into the so-called empty quarter, which again comprises a large part of Oman, and head out in a 4x4 vehicle and drive up and down the dune. This isn't for everybody. It's a bit of it's an adventurous ride, but for those who have a little bit of thrill seeking in them, I can highly recommend it, because quite honestly, it's actually a lot of fun. But otherwise, there's lots of other things that one can do, or you can just relax and enjoy the incredible weather, and again, the seaside and the facilities of our hotel. And from there, we head out from the main part of the program. So the end of the program will end here in Salalah. There are again, connections that you can take directly to Dubai to fly back to Canada from there. There are numerous other ways to get out from there. So again, we can assist you with the airfare on that. We're not going to leave you high and dry in Salalah, but you may want to consider embarking on the extension program that we have on offer. And again, I bring up the map just to highlight that. From Salalah, which is down in the southwestern part of the country, we fly up directly to Dubai, and that's included in the extension program. And then we spend a night in Dubai and head up to Kasab. And so Dubai needs hardly any introduction. In fact, if you have not been to Dubai before, you may want to tack on a few days, either before or after this trip. It's a city that can easily be explored on your own. It is all glitz and skyscrapers and shopping malls, and it's quite a place. I spent a brief period of time living in Dubai, and so yeah, I know lots about the city, and I think it's worth a visit if you haven't been there before. The Dubai Mall, which is the largest in the world, that sits here at the bottom of the Burj Khalifa, which is the highest building in the world, has the also the biggest. The Dubai is all about its extremes, right? It has the largest fountain in the world, the fountain of the Dubai Mall, which, quite honestly, to see the fountain show that goes every evening, wow, it is, yeah, mind-boggling. So we'll spend a night in Dubai, and then make our way up to Kasab overland. It's not a long drive; it's about 3 hours. We pass through the other two of the other Emirates to get back into Oman, and we will arrive into Kasab and check into our hotel for the first few nights, from where we will be exploring this incredibly beautiful Mozendam Peninsula. And the As I say, the hotel is well situated to explore Kasab itself, and also as access to the sea, where we'll be out heading out on a boat trip, as well as our 4x4 adventure up in to the mountains. So that same day, we'll have a chance to get up to the castle, which is the fortress that was the protecting element of this town, that has obviously been around for a long time, and yeah, it's quite an amazing part of the history of this pretty remote area on the map. Maybe the highlight of the trip, I don't know, there's many highlights of this part of the extension program, but we're going to do a cruise on a dhow, on a traditional dhow. You can see one pictured here. And this picture, again, just barely does justice to the incredible landscapes we have here in Oman. We're going to hit Telegraph Island, which was named because it was such an important part of the British telegraph program, built over a century ago. We'll visit Sham Island, where we'll have lunch on board. We'll have a chance to swim, go snorkeling, and enjoy some of the marine life that you can find in here. If we're lucky, we could get whales and dolphins, and there's really so much to see here. But for me, it's all about the amazing landscapes that you see. The next day, we'll have a chance to get up into the Jebel Harim Mountains, that we'll travel by 4x4. And so as breathtaking as the fjords are by boat, they are equally so, and I think this is actually a great picture, equally so by road. And so we're going to head from sea level all the way up to 1,780 meters above sea level, from where we will visit some very traditional villages, and all along the way have these amazing vistas looking out over the Mozendam villages, Mozendam fjords, I should say. We'll have lunch at a local village, and we'll head back to the hotel by mid-afternoon and have time to again enjoy the facilities and just really relax and take it all in, here in the Mozendam fjords. And then we've got one more day, which is basically a free day for those that wish. I think the other way to explore the area is by kayak. I mean, we don't cover as much ground as we do as with a dhow, but nevertheless, for me, I think kayaking, regardless of you don't need to be an expert. We're not going to travel 20 kilometers or anything, but the serenity of sitting in a kayak and taking in this breathtaking landscape, there's nothing like it. So this is optional, but there's some other things that we can do as well to, as I say, enjoy the countryside around Kasab and the Mozendam Peninsula, or just relax and take it all in, which is sometimes the best way to enjoy these things. Our trip will wrap up there. It'll come to an end, and then we'll, of course, head back from Kasab to Dubai, and then catch our departure flights back, or perhaps you'll add on a few nights in Dubai if you wish. You could also, in theory, stay a few nights in Abu Dhabi, which is, of course, one of the other capitals of one of the other Emirates in the UAE, another fascinating city. So there's various options that you could easily do on your own. But yeah, our program will end there. So all of this info, of course, as usual, is in our our program itinerary, which if you haven't already got a copy, you can get one by emailing our office or just downloading it from our website. So all of the information is in here. The main program priced at 85.80 Canadian dollars, with a relatively modest supplement for those who wish to have their own room. Lots included in the program as usual. I mean, we have some lovely hotels. I must mention as well, we have some, quite five-star hotels, but in places like Nizwa and the desert camp, they are as comfortable as you can get in this area. So they're not deluxe hotels, but they are very comfortable and very clean and very and serve the purpose of visiting this part of the world. I mean, as you can well imagine, in some of these smaller towns, they don't have the vast array of accommodations as you would find in more touristed parts of the world. So again, all the details are available there. Our post program for the extra trip to Dubai and the Arabian Peninsula shown here. And again, this is including your flight, as well as ground transfers, 5 nights accommodation, sightseeing, the Dow cruise, the 4x4 trip, the whole 9 yards, all part of that program. And as with all of our trips, the airfare is extra, but we are happy to facilitate that for you through our partners that do our air tickets. And then, of course, cancellation and medical insurance, which we strongly, strongly recommend. As I mentioned during the itinerary, for those who book early, you'll get a free hot air balloon trip over the Al Wahiba Sands. So if you sign up for this program before the 30th of June, then you get to take advantage of that. So good reason to book early, not to mention that it helps us solidify the numbers for the program so that we can assure it's going to go ahead as planned. If you have any questions, obviously this is not a live webinar now, but just a replay, then please do send a message to Paula in our office. Her email address is there, or info@, and one of our team will be happy to get back to you and answer your questions. The most common question that we get on our webinars is what the weather is like. Oman is a desert country. We are obviously going in wintertime, which is the only time. You certainly don't want to go here in summer because the heat is insane. But in winter, the temperatures are typically in the low to mid 20s, cooler in the evening. You obviously have to remember that the desert can be quite chilly at night, but it's dry heat, and so it's quite comfortable. And you need summer attire, but you definitely need a little bit of warmer clothes for being in the desert, particularly in the evening. But for the most part, you certainly don't need parkas or anything heavy like that. As with any of our programs, we recommend light, comfortable wear, but you won't see much rain. And as I say, if you do, you'll be lucky, because when it rains in Oman in the desert, from what I've heard, the plant life, the flowers that emerge is absolutely breathtaking. So maybe you'll be lucky and maybe it'll rain. So that wraps up our webinar. Thank you very much for tuning in to our replay. And once again, do let us know if you're interested in joining us, or if you have any questions at all. We're happy to answer them. And thanks for being part of our webinar replay today. Take care and all the best.